don't count them all out. Bricks and mortar retail is still a very important part of the omni-channel experience. And I think we have to remember that the majority of sales still happen in store, over 80%. And so this year's behavior of seeing the younger teens and preteens go to the mall is not a big surprise. Another big surprise was that there was an increase online of over 55. And so the teens and the millennials did go to the mall this year. And frankly, when you consider the ambiance, the experience, the decor, and the opportunity to sit in Santa's lap, it's not something that's going to go away.
So what brings someone to a mall these days, whether it's a teen or maybe someone slightly older, if you can have the convenience of ordering at home, if the weather is crummy, what's going to be enough to get me out of the car, to park it, to go inside? What do the malls need to understand?
Great question, Courtney, and I think the good ones are doing it well. They're creating those touch points emotionally with a reason to be there. And we know it's inconvenient to find a parking space. We know it's not always the easiest thing to do. But once you get there, you're animated with the excitement of the decor, the music, the feeling of being at a place that maybe they grew up in and thought it was special to be there during the holidays. We saw that come back in droves. And as Spencer said earlier, it's very instructive to note that the younger buyer behavior is to order online and pick up in store. And that's been very good for the industry, but I think it also speaks to the relevance of omni-channel. Good retailers have to have an amazing online presence and an amazing in-store presence.
When we think about the teen market, we often sort of associate fickleness in general with the teens of any generation. And if you are a mall retailer and you want to maintain relevance, I imagine you need to have the right stores at the right time. Does that mean you're looking at something like shorter lease times or more flexible options to make sure that you have the most relevant players in there?
Great point. I think landlords are having to learn to deal with different lease structures, accommodate pop-ups as experimental stops to see if a product is going to make it. You see the malls continuing to expand their store within a store. That all plays into the changing preferences. Store formats used to change every 7 years. Now we see changes happening in half that time. And so I think to be relevant, a retailer and a landlord have to work together to make sure that engaging experience is still able to happen.
We've seen a lot of these big names that have big mall presence file for bankruptcy. I'm thinking about Forever 21 sort of pops to the top of my mind. You saw Simon get involved with Aeropostale. They sort of opened the door to potentially invest in other names down the road. Are those partnerships you think that will become more likely because the mall is so dependent on making sure that some of these retailers still fill spaces, frankly, that's productive?
I think that's a clever way of attacking what's happening. Some of the retailers may have good concepts and fall into liquidity issues. At such point, a landlord or an investor could see that as an opportunity. Private equity had really gone headlong into retail over the last 10 years, and that has subsided some now. But I do think recapitalization of the sector is something we will continue to see.
And then lastly, I think I'd just like to talk about the composition of the mall. Byron, you and I have talked about before how that's changing and leaning towards experience. Food is really important, and I imagine quite important for teens as we see some of these Piper Jaffray surveys, and the biggest percentage of spending from the wallet is going to food. What's important for a mall retailer to understand right now about what's working when it comes to a dining experience?
Well, I mean, coffee, hot chocolate, seasonal cider, great food offerings, new trials. I think food is central to the shopping experience. Frankly, as is music and decor this season, a reason to go in and enjoy oneself. But food has definitely taken a front and center position in the experience.